ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I need a haircut, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about the single most overpowered champion to ever exist in Marvel Contest of Champions history. I am of course talking about not Hercules, Quake. Quake has been cacked as a 5-star champion forever. And since then, she has fallen off a cliff in terms of relevance. Not surprising, we're now at 7-star rank 4. But how would she fare as a 6-star? Is the game ready for that? Let's get into it.
So I'm going to make the case in this video that Quake would be absolutely fine as a 6-star champion. Not a 7-star, don't even think about it, but as a 6-star champion. Now, here I kitted her out with all the damage synergies and boosters and masteries that I could think of, including the suicide masteries. And while I'm not sure this interacts with her aftershock, I just tried to build a profile of what a relatively high-ranked 6-star would look like. Now, how does Quake work? Well, you already know how Quake works, but in case you've been living under a rock for the past 8 years, Quake works by charging your heavy to evade basic attacks, and then dexing the next hit. And you end up with this really weird playstyle of just hold heavy and dex, hold heavy and dex, hold heavy and dex, and you deal damage through these aftershock bursts that happen periodically. So what made her so insane? Well, this playstyle is number one, and number two is her concussion debuff. So what this playstyle did was it shut off any problems you may face from hitting the opponent, getting hit by the opponent, your opponent gaining power, you gaining power, gaining buffs, placing debuffs, your opponent throwing specials, you throwing specials. So much as making contact with the opponent did not happen if you played optimally. Second thing, that concussion shuts off all ability accuracy, so not defensive, not offensive, everything. Everything goes at 100% potency. So as long as you are charging your heavy attack, and as long as, say here, you see the aftershock triggers another concussion debuff, so as long as you have that concussion debuff up in some form, your opponent was a potato. Everything was completely shut off, and the only ceiling to this character was your attention span, essentially, for as long as you can keep this playstyle going, because it is hard. She is probably the hardest champion in MCOC history to play and to master, because it is so precise, the timing, so easy to get wrong, and when it goes wrong, and in certain harder matchups, it's very easy to go wrong. Well, you get smacked about. No immunities, no resistances or anything. But she kills Captain Marvel here in 2 minutes 20. And that is going to be argument number one for why I don't believe she would be an unfair or unbalanced 6-star. Damage. Now, if all you can do is deal 3 bursts of physical damage on a periodic basis, that's adorable. That's adorable. And I know that this comparison is not fair. I know Crossbones has like top 5 damage in the entire game, and I've also kitted him out with full damage synergies, boosts, and masteries. But these are the champions that Quake is going to need to compete with if she is to be deemed unfair. Like, this is the competition, so like, you can call me insane, but this is what's gonna decide for the community if she takes off or not, right? And looking at this sort of damage, if Quake was released today, we would notice this unique playstyle, go, oh, that's a neat trick, and then we'd move on and we continue playing Crossbones and we continue playing Count Nefaria and Titania and everything, because she simply cannot close the fight fast enough. But this is the scenario that Kabam is really worried about. How does she take on the hardest defenders in the game, namely Onslaught, Serpent, Bullseye? Alright? The holy trinity of ruining people's lives. So this is Magus's 7-star rank 4 version of human depravity. otherwise known as Onslaught. And Quake is a hard counter to Onslaught. You never gain a Neuroshock, you never gain a Daunted, your controls never go reversed. He never hits you, right? He never gains a bar of power, or any power indeed, and you just sit there and repeat the same playstyle over and over and over until he dies. The drawback of this, you wouldn't be as fast as other options for Onslaught, and of course then there's still the skill cap, right? Remember this, beneath all of this is actually quite a high level of skill. Years and years ago, when I was first going through Act 6, I played Quake like a religion. Okay, so this is not something one can just pick up and do. Okay, this takes a lot of time to learn. Unless you're MSD, in which case you'll probably do it already. But he goes down, and Quake is a hard counter to Onslaught. But that's okay. Alright, fine. Let's move it on. This is going to be my rank 5 unascended version of Bullseye. Now, this fight is going to go a little bit quickly. But this is because it's only a practice match. I couldn't find a fat Bullseye, so I just used my own. And Quake, again, is a hard counter to Bullseye. He does have ways of countering evade, but not if you just deny him any specials and any power. So you just do exactly the same thing. Bullseye never touches you. Bullseye never gains a bar of power. He never evades or throws these stupid L1s. But there is an element of risk in this match. If you get hit, you are hit with guaranteed critical hits, with no resistances, mind, no immunities, with class advantage. So I'd say that, okay, this is a match that is rewarding, but requires some skill. Talking of skill, here's a champion that has absolutely no correlation with that whatsoever. This is Dr. French's 7-star rank 4 version of Serpent, something that will land someone in the 7th circle of hell. But how does Quake fare against the single worst thing ever to be added to the game? Well, it's a bit mixed. So Serpent has a periodic power gain. Now, I can shut that off if I have the concussion active when it triggers. You'll see here, sometime in this fight, I miss that time. And I think towards the end, he's going to go above a bar of power, combined with the power gain he gains at the start of the fight. And when that happens, when the opponent gains a bar of power, you have to stop this Quake rotation, because she can't evade the special attacks. Alright. Furthermore, his ability accuracy on that immortality is 125%. And as you can see here, it's just an odds game, right? It's like all neutralized champs. It's just, you either get screwed over or you don't. As you can see, you can go south very, very quickly. He could have gone red there. I could have lost a bunch of damage. Sorry, a bunch of health. And in fact, I did. Anyway, moving on to reason number 2 why I believe Quake will be fine as a 6-star. And this is quite a complicated reason, so I'm going to nerd out for a little bit. You can feel free to skip the yapping. Alright, fine. My average watch time is like 3 minutes. Most of you are already gone. But this reason comes with understanding the state of the game when she was in her prime, and the state of the game now. So when Quake was in her prime was when 5 stars were around 5-star rank 4, 5-star rank 5 level, and the peak level of Act content was Act 6.4. And the PvP mode that was dominant was AW. Now, in Act 6 and in AW, new challenges, new threats, new nodes and new defenders were being added to the game that were really unfun. And this obviously resulted in a mass nerf, several nerfs for Act 6. And yes, there were several very competitive offensive champions that could take all of these very niche scenarios in Act 6. But even then, it wasn't fun. You were still getting nuked through the block by stupid attack rating, and a lot could go wrong. Even champs like Captain America Infinity War, Symbiote Supreme, Nick Fury, Aegon, they all faced considerable challenges going through this content 100%. And that meant that the most dominant option was a general solution. And this general solution came in the form of Ghost and Quake. So the rate at which the defensive threat in the meta was growing was faster than the rate at which counters were dealing with it. That is the most crucial point. That is no longer true. Since that time, Kabam have had a lot of time to change the way they design nodes, champions, defenders, attackers, the lot. And Kabam have become more specific, which is a nice way of putting it. The unnice way of putting it is they're money-chasing bastards, and they know what gets people buying the bundles. But specific, for the purpose of argument. So we see more and more obviously nowadays that a new node or a new defender or a new threat in general gets added to the game, and champions are added almost immediately to counter it. And this can be seen all the way from specific defenders to nodes to just fights in general. So we've seen this year Serpent get added, and then immediately Isophene, Spiral, Shathra, they come out and they're advertised as counters, and everybody has to buy them. Onslaught comes out, Ironheart, Jack-o'-lantern. Sinister comes out, not Sinister. Bullseye comes out, everybody freaks out. Sinister buff, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Dazzler, Gentle. Right, and it's very, very obvious what's going on. And even an example of them countering a node. Alright, node 39, Polka Dot Power, Stunning Reflection, Bullseye, Gentle is a hard counter. That's not an accident. Or even fights in general. Health pulls in Act content are now over 1 million health. Even path fights are close on 1 million health. So what do you do about that? Well, Quake's not going to cut it, because that's not how her damage loop works. But guess who will? Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill has an enormous damage ceiling that is optimized at around 1 million health. Is that a coincidence? No. No. People who say Beta Ray Bill is mid now will be eating their words the more Act 9 content comes out, because he is suddenly more useful than Hulkling, Gallon, and Hercules combined in this bit of content. The best counter to the Act 9.1.5 shocker was Beta Ray Bill. This is not a coincidence. So what we see now is that the answer to these niche scenarios is no longer a general solution, because the niche counters have got better. The rate at which attacking options are entering the game and improving is now faster than the rate at which defensive threats are being added. And this means that general solutions like Quake, like Ghost, have fallen off a cliff. People forget, Ghost was added as a 6-star. Do you have her ranked up? I don't. Well, actually I do, but not ascended. And I'm not ascending her over Bullseye. You know, a few years ago that would have been very, very different. So, yes, Quake can take some of the hardest defenders in the game, but are people going to use her? The question is she balanced? Will she break the game? No. No, she will not break the game. Yes, she can take Onslaught, but are you going to beat someone using Jack-o'-lantern? Are you going to beat someone using Hulkling? Are you going to beat someone using Titania? Are you going to beat someone using Red Guardian? No, no, you're not. Yes, she can take Photon. Are you going to beat someone using Onslaught? No. Are you going to beat someone using Kingpin? No. Are you going to beat someone using Mantis? No. Are you going to beat someone using Crossbones? No. Some people will beat you, and I concede. You know, there will come a time when Quake is on the opposing side and all of your defenders are hit. And, okay, that scenario is scary, but that scenario is nothing new. And remember, she's limited by her damage output. And the niche counters that you may have to similar defenders on the opponent's side will be better. The general solution is no longer good enough. All right. That's enough Yappuccino for the day. I'm going to have to put it in the title, Yap Alert. Wow. Anyway, Quake will be fine as a 6-star. Should be fine. For lack of a better idea, Kabam have complete control over tuning, so they can always just affect the way her aftershock ramps up as a 6-star. Should have just said that. Would have saved you 15 minutes. Anyway, if you have made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry to subject you to this, but I know I'm right, and you know it too. So hit the sub button, because I'm right. Bye-bye.